Hello, everyone. This is FPL Kante welcoming you all to our FPL Under the Radar Game Week 1 to 4 review video. We are in an international break. We're in the middle of the international break. So, just in 4 days or so, we resume with the PL action for Game Week 5. But before that, we just wanted to review all the data, a lot of the work that we did over the last week between Wrangler, ZD, and myself for Under the Radar. A lot of this stuff is already on Twitter. We just wanted to review it in a more like a review format video for all of you. Again, we'll come back with our Game Week 5 preview later this week, hopefully either on Wednesday or Thursday. We'll announce that soon. With that being said, how are you guys doing? ZD, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. I think we are. It was good international break, right? So
Hmm.
now ready for another game week.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wrangler, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Tell me about yourself. How are you?
Yeah, doing all right. I mean, we did a lot of work over the last week, even the
Right.
three of us, on the data that we collected. I mean, it's of course still only 4 game week worth of data, but we tried to do our best collectively to make sure that we analyze the data and try to make sure that we help the community out for future game weeks. That's basically what we are going to focus on today as well. So, all right. So that being said, let's get into it. Jump right into it. So before we get into all the data, just wanted to take a step back, just look at the fixtures that have just been played in the first 4 game weeks. And as we have spoken about it before, Man City and Arsenal, both of them started with a pretty good set of fixtures, easy set of fixtures, I would say. Brighton, their first 3 game weeks were also very good, and that was the reason that we were uh, targeting players from those teams, right? Brentford, another one of those. Fulham, Palace, and Bournemouth in game week 2, 3, and 4. Those were essentially the teams that we're targeting, and also Chelsea, right? Liverpool, they started with Liverpool, but then game week 2, 3, and 4 was West Ham, Luton, and Forest. Uh, a little bit of mixed bag for Newcastle and Liverpool. So keep that in mind when we look at all of this data, either the team data or player data. Uh, Newcastle had Villa, City, Liverpool, and Brighton, right? 4 of the hardest fixtures in the league, at least from a defensive standpoint, to start the season. And Liverpool also had Chelsea and Newcastle and Villa in the first 3 of their 4 game weeks. So, anyway, so just wanted to kind of ground everyone before we jump into the data. So, let's segue into the team's data first. So, we are looking into the XG versus XGC plot. Again, top right is essentially the teams that are good both for attack and for defense, right? And no wonder, I mean, the teams that we are seeing up there, City, Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, we all expected them to be good. Even Newcastle, they are in UCL, right? So we expect them to be good. And if anything, we want expect them to be better. They bought players this season. Uh, Brentford up there, one of the best attacks, and of course, as we already said, they had some easy fixtures to start with. But again, without Tony, there was a little bit of doubt, maybe, but that's just completely vanished, right? I think they have performed so well as a team in general, both from an attacking standpoint and from a defensive standpoint. I don't think there is any doubt for Brentford at all anymore. And then, of course, the targetable teams at the bottom left are Sheffield, Bournemouth, Fulham, and remember that Luton and Burnley have played 1 game less. So if they had played their 4th game, their defensive numbers would look even worse, right? So that's basically in a nutshell the team status. Anything that you want to add, Wrangler, on top of that?
Yeah, just like Man United and Brighton. Their attack, I mean, at this underlying wise, their attack looked good, but I mean, they have been defensively poor too, right? At least, I mean, it's again only 4 week game weeks data.
Mhm.
So that's one thing to wanted to highlight. But I think Newcastle is very interesting one. They played a difficult game. They
Yep.
didn't have good result, but again, I think underlying looked good. So Palace, I would like to also focus that their
Mhm.
defense actually looked good. I mean, it's not probably surprising because they last season at the end they looked very good,
Mhm.
but attacking wise they are not up to the mark at least as of now yet. So yeah, that's
Absolutely.
all.
ZD, any team has surprised you so far based on their performance, either from an attacking or defensive perspective?
Yeah, I think so for Nottingham Forest,
Hmm.
their defense is good. What we have seen, like they played, I think, two tough game, right? One with Arsenal and another one,
Yeah.
Chelsea. So they are showing. I mean, whenever we see Nottingham, we say that that's a bad defense we need to target.
Hmm.
But so far as they are performing, it might not be true. I mean, we have to see some more games from them. But so
Yeah.
far they are, as stats shows, their defense looks much better than the previous season. And another team is Everton. I mean, they are not scoring, but they are in the good attack. I mean,
Hmm.
we think that the clean sheet is obvious against Everton somewhat, but seems like they have good attack, so probably it's not that easy. Or they are not converting the chances probably, but
Good
their
point.
underlying data is good actually.
Good points. Yeah, good point. Absolutely good points. And I mean, one thing that has been evident in the first few game weeks that clean sheets are hard to come by, right? We barely have had many clean sheets. City had two clean sheets in their first two game weeks. They also lost clean sheets in the next two, right? So it's just harder to predict clean sheets, I would say, this season. Would see as the season progresses. Generally speaking, beginning of the season is like that. But yeah, even I was seeing a statistic somewhere that for the first four game weeks we have had the least number of clean sheets in many years of PL. But anyways, we'll see how that changes. Um, all right, so that was our team data. So let's uh, dive into the player data next. So we'll go position by position of goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and then forwards. So we'll start with the goalkeeper data. And again, as we were just saying, clean sheets have been hard to come by, and so has been the choice of goalkeepers, right? A lot of us started with Onana, a lot of us started with Pickford, even the likes of John Stone. Some maybe started with Sanchez or transferred in Sanchez. Uh, but yeah, I mean, in general, it hasn't necessarily looked good for many, right? All the goalkeepers that we expected to do good, at least from a clean sheet standpoint, no one really stands out yet, right? Uh, Again, even the Brentford goalkeeper like Flecken, a lot of the goalkeeper experts suggested him. He has, in general, looked good, and Brentford defensively they have looked like a good team. Uh, but again, there is not a whole lot, right? I mean, as soon as they lose the clean sheet, there is not a lot of bonus point or something. So yeah, it's really hard to pick a goalkeeper at this point of the season and say that okay, this guy is the standout option, right? Ederson, of course, I mean, again, Man City is the greatest defense in the league, so no doubt about that. But do we really want to spend that 5.5 million for a City goalkeeper whose ceiling is essentially 6 points, right? So it's just hard to go there as well. But I would say, from my standpoint, I think Flecken still kind of stands out at 4.5 million. I think he's still 4.5, if I'm not wrong. He might have went up to maybe 4.6. But in general, Brentford's defensive numbers and Flecken being involved a lot from passing from the behind, passing from the back. I mean, so he does tend to accumulate save points. I think in one of the games where he even lost the clean sheet, he still got a save like bonus point, right? So there is potential definitely in there, especially for his price. Johnston, I started with Johnston, right? But and Palace defense, as Rangli were saying a little ago, looked good, but they again lost the clean sheets, right? And again, his ceiling seems to be a little on the lower side. He doesn't Palace doesn't concede a whole lot of shots, right? So as soon as they lose the clean sheet, Johnston has almost no chance to get a bonus point, right? And then saves also, he doesn't accumulate a lot of saves. So yeah, it's just difficult to go there also. uh, Brighton goalkeepers could be interesting, but again, there is a little bit of dilemma. Who is their number one, right? It still started the first two, then Verbruggen started the next two, right? Even if their defense doesn't generally look good, but they are generally good contenders for save points and bonus points, right? But again, given the confusion, it's hard to go to the Brighton, one of the Brighton goalkeepers either. uh, Maria, that's pretty much about it. I think one guy we do need to talk about is Ariola. Seems to have nailed down his place as number one for West Ham, and their fixtures do turn better right after game week 7, 8 time frame, especially people who'd wildcard in game week 8, 9 time frame. I think it will be almost impossible to ignore Ariola, right? Especially given that he's 4 million, and if any of the other 4 million goalkeepers are still an option, It's almost like a no-brainer to go with Ariola in or around game week 8-9 time frame. Anyone that stands out, ZD, for you from a goalkeeper standpoint that we didn't talk about?
No, as you said, I think it's right. Flecken seems like a standout one, and yeah, Ariola seems like this year probably if Ariola is number, if he keeps his place, I mean, he's in easy hold because West Ham
Hmm.
defensively is doing good, and he gives lots of save point as well. So it's a good shout. I mean, for probably people. If you'd say Vicario looks good as well, basically, but
Hmm.
problem is 5 million. Actually, do I want to spend
Yeah.
5 million? And also Spurs we might want a Spurs outfield player rather than goalkeepers. So yeah, in that way, I think Ariella is the one who probably I am looking forward to. I think most of the people looking forward to.
Hmm.
Another interesting shout could be Nick Pope, but problem is um, uh, Newcastle form is little concern, and also 5.5 million probably way too much. If he's 5 million, still probably people can go there. Yeah, I
Hmm.
think those are the thing. I mean, not that much options as I can see. We can talk about it, right?
Yep. Any word for Onana owners or as a Man United fan, Wrangler?
No, I think it became a little bit burden now, but I mean, you cannot do anything until you play the wild card, right? Because
Mhm.
the team is not stable yet, and we had like injuries as well, right? So we are losing clean sheets here and there. And unfortunately, like I was expecting since Ande Onana came, there could be some defensive error. That didn't happen, right? But it's still, we just considered because like other teams did good or we were kind of defensively leaky, right? So
Mhm.
it's just like you you hold on to like until your next wild card, I think. And who knows? I mean, the fixture in next three. I mean, if you remove the Brighton game,
Yep.
the next two or three are good. So I mean, he might be giving return, and the narrative might be changing, right? So, but at least as of now, I think, yeah, I think Turner and Areola are really good shouts. They are only 4 million. If they are nailed, they have good save points, and for goalkeepers, that's really important. I mean, save points, and it just put you in the bonus as well, right? As you mentioned about the Flecken.
Mhm.
And Turner, as ZD mentioned, right? The Nottingham Forest already played two difficult games, but their clean sheet, not clean sheet, but at least they had good clean sheet potential, right?
Right.
Their defensive number was good. So I think Turner and Areola at the like best two shouts. I like Allison as well, but again, in Liverpool, there are better assets, right? But otherwise, I always like Allison like as a goalkeeper because he had all the potential to be like get more point. But again, we have other
Mhm.
options, right? So but
Right.
otherwise, I always like Allison, by the way.
I think as an goalkeeper, Ariella and Turner, they are not the worst goalkeeper. They're good goalkeeper. Like when you have options such that, like
Mhm.
in this budget, like 4 million, I think um, it's kind of no brainer
Yeah.
as it is going. Like if you want just clean sheet, probably you can have Ederson, but that
Yeah.
ceiling actually that's only 6 points, and you might get concede one goal like
Mhm.
from anywhere. So in that case, I think as these two are giving lots of save points, I think these two, I mean, people can just take them and forget. I mean, it
Yeah.
is my view. I mean, I'm thinking
Yeah.
of that
No,
because
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
can then you can accommodate Salah probably, or you can have some other
Yeah.
outfield player who has like higher ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't care about money now, but as soon as we would want Salah and the trends in our teams, we would want the 4 million goalkeepers. And I mean, even without Turner, even if Henderson gets that place, Ariola by himself is a fine option, right? You can just have
Yep,
him as your number one goalkeeper and play him every week, right? I don't think
yep,
that
yep.
hurts. And as you said, he is a good goalkeeper in general, even irrespective of which team he's playing for. So yeah, I think that's going to be the to-go guy for all of us. All right, so that was goalkeepers. Let's move on to the defenders. Wrangler, you want to talk about defenders a little bit?
So yeah, here basically we are showing expected FPL points versus the FPL points. So uh, basically, like the uh, in the right triangle, right? It's basically if the players in the right triangle, that means they underperformed because that was their expected point, but they couldn't achieve it. And in the left triangle or the top triangle is basically like if you overperform, right? So Yeah, Chilwell stand out pretty much well here, right? As you can see that he massively underperformed. He was like, if everything would have got correct, he could have got like 25 plus points, right? But he just ended up in getting 15 points or so, right? So, but he was always, as you said, right? He always was playing as a forward, right? One thing we just saw also like in last few games that he is getting subbed off, right? So uh, around at 60. So that's something to look forward. But we're going to talk about this in the preview video probably. But here, I think Chilwell one or two were very unlucky. Matty Cash also, like, although he got like, in one game I think he got like 19 points or so, something like that, right? And he's still underperforming, right? even
Hmm.
even though he got that haul. So he was also really in like, in playing forward position. Romero, Udogi from the Spurs, so they're overperforming here, right? So I think that's basically coming from their assists and their goal, because they Spurs got only one clean sheet, I guess, if I'm
Hmm.
not wrong, right, out of these four games. So Udogi, like, he got assists from Madison's like the long range shot, right? So I would say owners were a little bit lucky there. So those are the points that came, and Romero scored two goals, and one of them was again outside of the box. But I think, like, if they would have got clean sheet, you can imagine how much points even that would add up, right? So Spurs defender, actually, or at least the way they are playing, at least Udogi is a good shout, and Romero could be good shout too, if especially like, if any team is vulnerable in set pieces. Otherwise, I think, here I would like to mention Anderson, right? We never talked about Anderson. I think, but Palace looked good, right? We talked about Johnstone or other, but I mean, we hardly talked about Anderson, and he actually performed well too. And Estupinian was Estupinian, right? So I think, other than that, one thing just wanted to mention is that the darker circles, right? Basically, those are chance creator like Luka Dean, Estupinian, Chilwell, and I think Trent is here too. Yeah, Trent is here as well, right?
Hmm.
So they are kind of the creator, right? And essentially, we usually look forward to those defenders who has like more chance creation possibilities, and also attacking returns, right? So I think those are kind of expected, but again, they stand out in terms of like, chance creation. That's what I wanted to mention here. Anything you'd like to add here?
No, yep, absolutely. Spurs actually have two clean sheets, but again, your point stands, right? Udogi and Romero, because they have had those attacking returns. That's why their performance looks like an overperformance. But in general, again, I mean, Udogi for a 4.5 million, playing for a potential top four team, uh, and very attacking, right? So what's not to like there? I know ZDU got him in for a hit last game week, right? And it worked out
Mhm.
well for you. Now you're well set up, right? While other people are playing their wild cards to get players like Udogi, right? So that was a nice move. Poro, another one, right? Again, in the first game week, I think Royal started, Emerson started, then the next three Poro has started. Poro, if anything, is actually more attacking than Udogi, right? He's constantly crossing the ball. He's in and around the box. So don't be surprised, like if Poro overperforms in the or like outperforms Udogi in the next few games, right? I really like Poro, although he's 5 million, a little more overpriced than Udogi, but he could be a nice option, right? Especially if he nails down the position. And Tottenham doesn't have Europe, etc. Right? So that'll be an interesting one to look at. Anyone else that you want to mention, Zidi?
Nope. I mean, you guys covered it well. I think, yeah. One thing, I was just checking the point. I mean,
Hmm.
Das did not get that many points actually. Like,
Yeah.
Akanji Eke. I mean, seems like City defender has less ceiling. But the thing is, it's only 4 game week. I mean,
Hmm.
it might change because they are always good. I mean,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
can
they
give more.
considered some few goal. I mean, few silly goals
Yeah,
too,
Diaz
right?
Yeah, yeah.
didn't
So
play in the
play
first
first
game
game
week
as
either.
well. Yeah,
Yep,
So yeah,
yeah.
yep.
and
Okay.
then he lost both the clean sheets in game week 3 and 4. But yeah, you are correct. I mean, and again, in our review, preview video, Game Week 5 preview, we will talk about Man City defense and Newcastle
Mhm.
defense, right? Newcastle defenders don't show up, are not showing up here either,
Yeah, not
right?
showing up
But I
here.
think
Yep.
a lot of us will be interested about Newcastle defense. We'll talk
Yep.
about that for sure in the preview video. All right. If that's all right, let's move on to the midfielders. ZD, you want to take this one? Talk about the midfielders a little bit.
Yeah, so here again expected FPL points and FPL points, and I think the color is showing the minutes. So at the top it's Mbumo, and although he got like 33 points, um, but he's still underperforming. So that
Mhm,
shows actually how good an option he is. Um, and yeah, although he had two penalties, but still, I mean, as a Brentford talent talisman, he's actually doing very good. And some other underperformers, Salah, Bruno Fernandes, Eze. I mean, Bruno Fernandes or Eze, they are very massively overperforming. So
You mean
I
underperforming?
Yep, sorry. Yep, that's
mhm,
correct.
underperform.
Underperforming, and they are massively underperforming, and owners are very unlucky not to get any returns. But see, that also shows that the points that they
Mhm,
are actually main talisman of that team, and they might give the point anytime. Salah is underperforming as well, although he actually returned in every game, but he's underperforming. So, which is a good sign. Like who already has Salah, but
mhm,
as a non-Salah owner, probably that's a little bit concerned. Like he might explode anytime, like
mhm.
what Son and Sterling gave previously. And
Yeah, I mean, if he scored that penalty, he probably would have been the highest scoring midfielder by now.
yep,
So, yeah.
yep. Yep. I mean, yeah, but although we are saying all the peripheral things, he's actually giving points, and we knew that he will provide the points, right?
Mhm.
Saka is doing all right. Sterling is doing all right. I think for the overperformer, yeah, Madison did little overperform. Son did little overperform. I mean, what do you guys think about the overperformer?
Yeah, I mean,
They are good
Son,
scorers,
Son,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
they're
Son
fine.
historically is a good. I mean, he always overperforms, right?
Yep.
And somewhat true for Madison as well. Even
Mm-hmm.
when he was playing for Leicester City, right? He always was scoring those goals from outside the box, low XG chances, right? So I think
Mhm.
both of them historically, it's fair to say that are overperformers. I'm not quite surprised there. Go ahead, Wrangler. You were going to say something.
Yeah, the same thing. Basically, they are good scorers. Their shot ability, like it's the quality of their shots are pretty good. And as
Hmm.
you said, right, Son historically has been overperforming, and the same with Madison as well. So, yeah, I'm not surprised either. I mean, I
Yeah.
expected that, and I think it's going to sustain there. I think. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be like that. The way they have been at this showing the performance, I think. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I think the Son scored those three goals. It was like 1.28 xG. I
Hmm.
mean, it shows he's a good finisher, and he's very
Yeah,
much capable of that. We always
yeah.
saw that one. Yeah. So seems like March slightly overperformed as well. And their fixtures are turning bad as well. But so far, he overperformed. Diaby, he's slightly overperformed, but seems like he's a good player, right? I mean, it
Hmm.
might stay in the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, I
And
mean that's one of the teams. I mean, Villa we haven't spoken about much, but game week eight onwards, their fixtures are great, right? I think a
mhm.
lot of us would want Diaby in. Again, we'll talk about it in the preview video, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and another I think that's it. But Award Prowse, he actually performed a lot. Like if you see, he's supposed to get like around 11-ish point, but he got like 23 points. So
Hmm.
that's probably not sustainable because it's very much overperformed. So that's another
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
But
one thing that Nehal pointed out maybe a couple weeks ago that Ward Prowse is on all the set pieces, of course, right? And
hmm
West Ham have those players who are very good in the air, right?
yeah,
Zuma, Aguerd, Suchek when he is in, right? So they have those players who can hit those balls in, and that's what has happened, right? I think two of Ward Prowse's corners have been converted. So I mean, might be
yeah,
something to look out for, right? We'll of course see in the next few game weeks, but yeah, maybe not as sustainable. But I wouldn't be surprised if
yeah.
WordPress has a good
He
season either.
he's kind of a streaky player, right? We saw that
Mm,
when he was in the Southampton, and
mhm.
also like say he's a good penalty taker as well. Although Pakuita, I think he's the main penalty taker right now,
Yeah.
probably, then Benhama. But some point probably we would see he's in the penalty. If he's in the penalty, he might give lots of point because he's
Mhm.
he good takes good set piece, and West Ham has those players as you guys said. So that's an
Yep.
interesting one, I think, at 6
Any
million.
words? Any words on Bowen or Foden, Wrangler?
Yeah, I was gonna actually touch on Bowen, to be
Mhm.
honest. So yeah, I mean, because of other midfielder options, we didn't go there, like at the very beginning of the season, and now their fixture turning bad. But I think he was under the radar.
Mhm.
We talked about him slightly, but again, the midfielders from other good teams, had like better fixtures, and that's why we didn't go there, right? But I think after
Right.
game week 8 or 9, when their fixtures again turned good, he will be a very good option, and he actually showed that even he's not like really overperforming. I think he's performing as
Yep.
is
On
expected,
par.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I expect actually West Ham team to do good this year again, right? They don't have any Europe, and basically um, we didn't touch much on the West Ham in the game data, right? In the team data, but I think that's another team that probably will see, give hard time to the difficult teams.
Mhm.
For Foden, I think he has been a creator so far, and that's the same with Mitoma as well. They have been really creators, and that's why you don't see their expected point really very high compared to others, right?
Mhm.
Even though Mitoma played actually all the games, right? But it's still like he was mostly creator than a goal threat. um, but yeah, I think one thing I would like to one just add here for Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, definitely he was very unlucky, and like the owners were unlucky. But one of that Rashford's one of the goal missed, that was supposed to be offside, but it was not called. So that XG was pretty high, right? So that's
Mhm.
probably kind of inflated the data here a little bit. But again, I think Bruno Fernandes today, even actually he scored one goal and had three assists,
For
in the
Portugal. Yeah.
Europe, right, for Portugal. So
Mhm.
that's the quality actually he has, and that's what we want to see, so, from Bruno Fernandes. So I
Yep.
would suggest say, the owners need to be patient about him. So
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the forwards section. And again, I mean, no point in even talking about Haaland. Let's just skip him altogether. Two guys we definitely can talk about are Nico Jackson and Watkins, right? I mean, and I think Nico Jackson owners more, Watkin owners less, have been unlucky to not get the points. Watkins has at least got the assists, right? I think he has like 3 assists so far, no goals. Uh, so at least he has had some points. Nico Jackson just has had 1 goal to show for his like 7 big chances, right? So I mean, yeah, I mean, all three of us have had him, so we can count ourselves unlucky. But again, with the fixtures upcoming, it's just hard to get rid of him either. I think the points will come, right? As you said, being patient is important. Uh, what same thing for Watkins also, right? We mentioned this in both of our Game Week 3 and Game Week 4 preview videos that if you have had Watkins, just hold him, right? I mean, there was no point in selling him. And again, for a longer term, Villa's fixtures are fantastic, right? One guy that has completely gone under the radar, I don't think we even mentioned him, is Edward, right? Because how Palace plays in general, little inconsistent. Not a lot of their goals come from the forwards, anyways. But he has done well, right? I think his underlying performance is in par with Nico Jackson and Watkins, if not slightly better. And he has performed. He has scored the goals. He had brace in the last game week, right? And he looks good in
he
general,
scored
even
four
without,
goals so far.
yeah, overall 4 goals. So even without the goals, he has in general looked good, right? I mean, confidence is important for the forwards, right? He seems to have that. Wisa we have spoken about, of course, before as well. He didn't do that well in the last game week, but in general, again, he is still up there. Isak has fallen down a little bit, of course, after that first 2 game weeks, and again, with UCL upcoming, it's hard to say that whether he will nail down his starting place or not. Uh, What do you guys think about Ferguson and Darwin? Darwin had a brace. Ferguson scored a hat trick, right? ZD, any comments on those guys? Minutes concerned, probably, but what do you guys think in general about Ferguson
Um,
and Darwin?
yeah, I think Darwin had assist, not brace, right? Or brace and then
No,
assist.
Darwin scored his brace in game week 3. Yeah,
in the
Yeah, in
versus
game week three
against
Newcastle.
and then
yeah,
assist. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean these guys, especially Darwin, he's a like magnet, right? Chance XG monster.
Hmm.
So I mean, he was not starting, but he started in game week 4. So if he starts with Liverpool attack and if he stays central, so I think he will. We might see he's providing lots of points. So
Hmm.
Darwin, yeah, the only concern is X minutes that needs to be monitor what will happen in the next 3-4 games because I think Liverpool fixtures turns very well in 8-9, right? So
Hmm.
probably if he becomes an option, we can go there. And Ferguson, actually, I had a chart as well over there. He's very good with the finishing. He took 4 shots so far. Everything is on target,
Hmm.
and only one shot is from the box. I mean, his shot quality is so good. He can take from the outside, and still it can be he can score. I mean, this guy is incredible. The thing is how Deserve is gonna use him. That's the point. I mean, but, but he's not expensive. Like if anybody has like 11th spot opening, they can, if they don't trust Nico Jackson or like any other forward, they can actually play him. And they can take chance in some of the games so that because if he plays, he will definitely score. If he comes from the sub, he will score. I mean, that's how seems like he's that good.
Have we missed the boat on Julian Alvarez? What are your guys' thoughts? He is the highest scoring forward after Haaland in the game right now. Have we
Yeah, I
missed the boat?
think we missed the boat. And the one, say, if you want to take him this week, I don't think it is a good week for him. First
Mhm.
thing is West Ham away. Second thing is he's coming from Bolivia, probably against Nottingham Forest. But again, other forwards has good games. I think on those game, and Nottingham will be like sitting deep in and blocking. So I mean, not bad fixtures. I think X minutes wise, apart from Game Week 5, it's not that bad as well because KDV is not in there and there are lack of people over there. But
Mhm.
um, he could be I mean, he could be an option as well. But I think the
Yeah.
14 points one, we already missed that one. That was a huge haul,
Mhm.
which probably, I don't know, we might not see because Haaland is the main guy again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, in our preview video, we'll talk about the rotation potential. There are potential that will get leaks, right, before game week 5 and game week 6. So, definite hold for owners, but for new buyers, probably wait for more news. That's basically the information that we want to pass. So
One
let's
name,
move. Yeah.
another name, probably Morris. We can touch on because he
Yeah.
he could be the hot dog. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a double game week person, right? Anytime there is a
Yeah,
double game week, I mean, all of us are, right? Even if it was an Weghorst, it was a Dennis, and so on, we all went for those guys. So yeah, maybe.
this time probably will not captain, but obviously we need one guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, then their fixtures even before that double game week are not the worst, right? I
Yep,
think they play Fulham and Wigan game week 6, I forgot. But anyways, yeah, but could be definitely an
yep,
option, and he's cheap, right?
yep,
5.5. So as your even as your third forward, he could definitely be an option. Absolutely.
yep.
Uh, can you guys still see me? I think I lost my
Yeah, yeah.
video for a moment. Okay. All right. So the last one that we just wanted to finish with is the Zones of Control. This is a nice plot from Opta that we found out. This basically shows which areas of the field that teams controlled. And as you would expect, right, the teams like Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, right? Chelsea really looks to be controlling a whole lot of the game. Like it's a lot of blues, right? Blues basically mean that in that area, in that particular area, you at least had 55% possession essentially, or touch or passes or whatever you want to quantify. and of course the less or more defensive teams, right? Luton, Sheffield, or even Burnley to some extent, right? You can see the low blocks, right? Almost all those red blocks. So they are basically holding back, sitting back, and then waiting for the opponent. And West Ham, important, right? To maybe focus on. You see how many of those red boxes are in there, right? They have been playing very low block this season. They're always waiting for those counter attacks, right? That's what they focus on, and a lot of Bowen's goals have come from those counter attacks, or Antonio's goals have come from those counter attacks as well. Liverpool is interesting with their new midfield signings. We would have expected them to control the game a lot more in the midfield. We have not seen that necessarily yet. And again, their fixtures have been a little bit of mixed bag, not the easiest of fixtures. Once their fixtures turn, maybe you'll see that. And also on their right side where Trent plays, they don't seem to be controlling the ball a whole lot, especially around that right flank area, right? But yeah, that's we just found it interesting. Wrangler, anything that you wanted to add? Tottenham, maybe you were talking.
Yeah, so I mean, again, Sparts look really good here too, right? They are controlling pretty well, and I think this is
Mhm.
a very good chart. But again, only 4 game weeks data, right? So I mean, we'll be really interested to revisit this again after game week 8 because
Yep,
then probably we'll have more data. But this is really a good illustration to show like the control, right?
absolutely.
I was talking about Sheffield with you before, right? That you can
Mhm.
see that how low block they have been, and that's why even in game week 5, we're going to talk later that is very good for medicine owners or others, right? So, anyways, I think it's a good one, and we'll just revisit this later after we have
Absolutely.
enough data.
All right. Okay. I think that's all the data that we wanted to look at today. Again, for our Game Week 5 preview, we'll come back on Wednesday or Thursday. We'll announce that soon. So look out for that. Thank you, ZD. Thank you, Wrangler, for being here with me today. We'll come back soon.
One thing just wanted to tell the viewers that we have a lot of other contents as well which we didn't cover in this video. So on our Twitter page, check them out. We have like a lot of other like big chances, set pieces, zonal, so and also like fixture analysis there too. So just check them out, and support us. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.